Hello, everybody. This is Catherine Carrigan, co-host of the Natural Healing Show for UK Health Radio. I'm so happy to be with you today, and this is the first show that I'm leading. Yara Garwetti is taking a little bit of break, and she's going to be helping us on the back end. You can find out about me at catherinecarrigan.com, unlimitedenergynow.com, and whatissocialmediatoday.com. I am a medical intuitive healer and Amazon #1 bestselling author. And today on the Natural Healing Show, the first show I'm hosting by myself, we have for you one of my favorite people in the whole world, Ramajon Cogan. And I'm going to let Rama introduce himself for you. So Rama, will you tell our viewers and listeners about you and your background in natural healing?
Thank you, Catherine. This is really an odd shift. Usually I'm the one doing the interviews, so this is really fun being in the other side of this adventure. Catherine and I have known each other for quite a few years. We work together as authors, and Catherine is a little more prolific than I am. I think she's finished 8 books, and I think 6 of them are Amazon bestsellers, or maybe 7. I have only completed my first book, which is called Sedona Mountain Biking, The Rise of the Gnarly Crew.
And the way I have to interrupt for our listeners and viewers. I'm not a mountain biker, and I absolutely love this book. If you're a spiritual person, if you're a person who's into health, if you're into community, the Sedona Mountain Biking, The Rise of the Gnarly Crew is a fabulous book. So it's full of great stories about community.
Well, you know, the way I say it is that I can't call it great literature, but I can say that it will make you laugh.
Yeah.
And since that was my main goal, I think I've accomplished it.
Yeah.
Well,
now, Rama, will you tell everybody where they can find you on the internet?
Okay, so I still have the old mountainbikeheaven.com website. It is a massive website and has been online probably 20 years. It is not necessarily so interactive as it was put together in the olden days of the internet. I also post regularly mountain bike adventures to my Instagram account, which is called Tropically Hip. And I also post those photos to several Facebook pages. My main page is Ramajon, Jon, Cogan, Cogan. And I also post a lot to where I work at my day job, Bikeworks, Hawaii. So I have not necessarily been prolific at social media, but I do maintain a maintenance level so that when I do move into a more marketing environment for myself, I'll at least have a base to start with. And I think that this is somewhat important in marketing and social media. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about the spiritual impacts or the spiritual parts of biking, mountain biking, and exercise. I do have a book in the works called Why We Ride, The F Words of Biking. And this falls heavily into the category of natural healing and spiritual development. The way I explain this book is that it starts with freedom and ends with fulfillment. And if you think about our spiritual practices of yoga, dance, tai chi, internal arts, meditation, essentially we're striving for freedom. Freedom from something, depending upon who we are. And ultimately, our goal is that these practices will lead us to fulfillment. So biking, and in my case, mountain biking, is right there as a spiritual endeavor, spiritual path. And mountain biking does come with a lifestyle. All biking does. The road biking mentality tends to be a little more serious about life. And if you think about spiritual practices, there are spiritual practices that are very dogmatic and, precise. And so road biking kind of falls into that category a little bit cleaner than mountain biking would. Mountain biking is a free flow lifestyle. Fun is first. And, it suits me very well. And I have to say that as I've worked on this book, Why We Ride, the F Words of Biking, I really am documenting a spiritual practice. And many people get a taste of the spiritual growth through exercise, training, riding a bike, having fun, being in flow. Let's see what else. A level of fitness, flow. We're dealing with our fears. All these are the normal steps that we deal with a meditation, a yoga, Tai Chi. So why not look at biking, and in my case, mountain biking, as a spiritual path?
So, Rama, what's the first thing that comes to your mind when you think about biking?
Well, this is how I started the book. It's freedom. If you'll all remember when you hopped on that first bike where you could actually ride, we might have been 6, we might have been 9, we might have been 20. It is a level of freedom. If you think about when you were a kid and you had your first bike, it was perhaps the first time you could get away from your parents without saying, hey, Mom, can you give me a ride to the mall? Or can you give me a ride over to Joey's house? Or whatever. So it did provide a level of independence and freedom that I never had. Of course, in my case, I remember very clearly the first pedal stroke on a real bike, because earlier that day, my sister had pointed me down a very steep driveway on a tricycle. And if you may remember, tricycles have no brakes. So I slammed into a metal bumper of the car that was parked at the bottom of the driveway. And I ended up by being taken to the emergency room. It's lucky as a kid we bounce, and we don't really remember pain as well as we do when we're adults. But later that day, after I had my stitches and I got home, I remember my dad saying, it's time that you learned how to ride a real bike. And I do remember him kind of pushing me around the cul-de-sac. And I specifically remember hearing him yell at me, pedal, pedal. And once that went through my head, I remember there was a moment of hesitation. And then I realized, oh, pedal. And I pedaled, and that was the beginning. And I really haven't stopped pedaling since then. And I think that as I grow older, and the act of riding the bike has become much more important. It is clearly one of my spiritual practices. It gives me great satisfaction. It challenges me to have my body stronger. And I would have to say over time, and I'm talking big time, 30 years, that I have developed a level of toughness in my physical body that I could not have achieved any other way. And I do take it for granted. when I do hike or do activities with people that aren't as, physically fit, I forget. I truly forget how the mountain biking has made me, physically tougher and stronger and psychologically tougher and stronger as well. Biking really is a great way to begin to get into some physical exercise, because when you're riding a bike, a lot of times you don't feel like you are exercising. You're more like a dog with their head stuck out the window, and you're feeling the breeze through your hair, and you're looking around and you're seeing things, and you become one with the environment you're riding and you're within. And it's really, really a cool sensation.
Now, Rama, your first story about riding a bike was very similar to mine. I was 7 years old, grew up in Savannah, Georgia, and my parents, in their infinite wisdom, they bought me a two-wheel bike. They put me at the top of a driveway, and a steep driveway like this, and they held on and they let go with obvious results. Only what happened to me when I fell off, and of course I'm a girl, I started crying. Oh my God, I'm all skinned up. I skinned my knees and I hurt myself. And I remember they spanked me, and because I didn't want to get back on the bike after that. And my parents took me in the house, and my father took his shoe off and spanked me. And it took me 9 months to learn how to ride a bike. It's really given the way I started. It's really amazing how much I love my mountain biking and my road biking, given how I started. Now, you bring up a really interesting topic, because most of us, when we think of a spiritual practice, we think of prayer or meditation or going to the mosque or the synagogue or church. Can you tell us more about how and why you see mountain biking as a spiritual practice?
Well, it's really an easy transition to get there. We've always thought that we wanted to establish a church called the Church of the Mountain Bike, or the Church on the Mount, or something like that. That would be, kind of a parody. But the reality is, for the last 30 years, literally every Sunday, I have communed with nature on a mountain bike. And most of those times I've had my friends, which really are my family, along for the ride. And we have a great camaraderie. We challenge ourselves. I mean, some days you got it and some days you don't, but you're still out there, pedaling. You're still out there struggling. And with our spiritual practices, some days it's hard to get into that alpha state in meditation. It's hard to get to that, one of those yoga poses that Catherine is so good at doing. It's hard to sit, and do that round of Tai Chi, or to make yourself slow down perhaps to the point where you can sit and see what is going on in your life. And with the biking, especially mountain biking, because you're really able to slow down without slowing down. What essentially you may be able to do is kind of speed up your velocity to, tune into the flow and the speed of the flow of existence. And when you're out there, one of my favorite all-time scenarios when I am riding my mountain bike is, there are times when I am so focused on short in front that I literally forget where I am. And I always want to maintain that forgetful state. And I don't want to look up and determine where I am. It's like I could anywhere. And that to me is being in the flow. So perhaps I really could be anywhere, as some of our, definitions of how the material universe is put together. We may find ways to travel in time through space. And I think the mountain bike for me is my tool for doing that.
Very cool. Now, here on the Natural Healing Show, I'm going to be bringing in guests who are experts in fitness, nutrition, and natural healing, because all of this adds up to a healthy lifestyle, and exercise and finding ways of moving your body is definitely a very important, crucial, in fact, aspect of natural healing, because if you're not moving around all the time, you're going to be unhealthy. And one of the leading causes of death, actually, is, believe it or not, sitting too much. So, Rama, what are the health benefits? I know you ride road bikes, mountain bikes primarily, but what are the health benefits of riding bikes overall? I myself prefer road biking. I feel a little bit safer here in Atlanta, Georgia, riding on a designated bike trail. There's a trail here in Atlanta called the Silver Comet Trail, and I love going there. But what do you see as being the health benefits of riding bikes in general?
Number one of the big problems with disease in our world is fact that we do not breathe, that we don't breathe deep, that essentially what happens is we're not getting enough oxygen into our system. And oxygen in your bloodstream is what kills disease. There are therapies that accelerate that, but if you exercise, especially a cardiovascular type exercise and biking, road biking more so than mountain biking. Mountain biking, you kind of, sometimes you're breathing very hard and sometimes you're coasting. While on a road bike, you're kind of setting up a consistency of your pace and your breathing. So either way, key word is breathing, and breathing deeply. It is an amazing healing effort. Whenever people around me get anxious or start feeling bad, the first word that comes out of my mouth is breathe. If you look at yourself when you're starting to get tense, what's happening is your breathing has gotten very shallow. And so biking and breathing are a natural. Now, it's not the only healing benefit of biking, because the other brainer is the physical level of fitness that doing any kind of exercise over and over will build in the body. It goes back to that toughness that I was talking about. And even though you may be more physically fit if you were a road biker than you would be as a mountain biker, you're probably a lot tougher as a mountain biker. Physically tougher. Your bones are tougher. Being pounded, over and over again builds a level of strength in the body. And the way I vision this in my mind is I think about those cartoons from the 50s with the big fat little old lady and the exercise machine and the belt, and it's all jiggly. When I'm on my mountain bike, that's how I feel. I feel that jiggliness, and I feel that it's firming up my body. So those are the main two aspects. But what about the psychological aspects of having a ritual practice, a daily practice, daily meaning every other day, once a week, whatever it is a regular practice. And that is an amazing psychological benefit for the human body. Is, okay, this is my practice. So every day, every other day, once a week, whatever we've determined is what works for us helps. So now you have a regular practice, you have a physical being in your body getting stronger, and you're breathing air. Now, here's another side effect of all of this. We need nutrition in our body to do this. So what happens as you are an athlete, and bikers are athletes, contrary to some public opinion, you do need to provide nutrition to the body, okay? If you look at our bike shop, for example, we got tons of nutritional supplements. And in biking, the supplements are candy bars, they're liquid goos, they're, gummy bear type supplements. I mean, they've embraced the delivery process to make it cool and fun and something for everybody. But what I really was getting at is that in order to perform at those levels, nutrition is necessary. And sure, it's easy to take nutrition on a ride. All you have to do is have something in your pocket. But in order to reach your peak level of performance, you need to provide nutrition through your day-to-day life. And, it becomes a reality. It becomes part of your lifestyle. So, athletes have an advantage over normal people in that we can generally eliminate the sugars that we take in our body because we're burning them up. It's still very important for us to be conscious. And if you look at some of the nutritional supplements throughout our store, there are natural ones, which are the ones that I push and talk to people about. And then there are the more unnatural ones. And unfortunately, everyone has something that they glean to, and they may not be the most nutrition based product or the best product for the body, but they all work. And because we're athletes, we burn through this stuff. If we took these supplements and just sat on the couch, we would be, heading for diabetes. There's no doubt about it. So being physical and having this exercise as part of our daily being is a critical component in being healthy.
Now, Rama, and our listeners, I want you to be jealous for a moment of Rama, because he ran a bike shop in Sedona, Arizona for many years. Sedona is one of the most beautiful places I've ever been to on earth. And now he's moved to Hawaii. So he's mountain biked in Sedona, which is gorgeous for all its red rocks. And now he's mountain biking in Hawaii. So can we all have just a little moment of envy or pity party for ourselves because we don't get to mountain bike in Hawaii? So Rama, what's it like to ride a mountain bike in Hawaii on the lava? I would think that, to me, that'd be a little scary. But tell us, what's it actually like to ride a mountain bike in Hawaii?
Well, this is really a fun question. Sedona is a red rock-based environment. So there are red rocks, but the point is that it's hard and soil is a luxury where I learned how to ride. Now, Hawaii has a similar environment. Instead of the red rock, I'm riding on black rock. Now, the way Catherine described it is really the way most people perceive the lava. They say, well, you can't ride a bike on that. But there are two types of lava in Hawaii. One is called A'a, and just by the name, A'a, it describes it all. It is chunky and barely walkable except by the goats. And then there's another kind of lava called Pahoi Pahoi. And the Pahoi Pahoi kind of looks like ocean waves that have frozen. So they are actually kind of smooth. They're not necessarily consistent in color, which is kind of cool. And I ride the lava. That is where I feel most at home. And I love it. I spent 3 hours in the lava yesterday, and on something that would be referred to as a Rama ride. Most Rama rides, nobody comes along because you end up by hike-a-biking and getting on a real adventure. My Sedona crew would come along, no doubt about it. And there are definitely people in the Hawaii gnarly crew that would certainly come along on an adventure ride. So Hawaii is a great spot to ride. It's really cool because after a bike ride, if you want to go to the beach and jump in the water, that's doable. And if you don't want to jump in the water, they have free showers at the beaches. So you can get all hot and sweaty on a bike ride, jump in the shower, cool down, get changed, and be ready for the next part of your adventure.
Now, listeners, if you're wanting to see pictures of Rama's amazing bike rides in Hawaii, you can go to his Instagram account. And Rama, can you tell them more about your Instagram account?
Sure. I use Tropically Hip as my Instagram name, but the key hashtag that I am working as a branding component is hashtag Renegade Mountain Biker. So if you plug in Renegade Mountain Biker on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter, you will find my posts. I love hashtags.
And this is a great way, if you're wanting to be inspired, maybe you live in Indiana or Atlanta, or you're in the Cotswolds, and maybe you can't go to Hawaii to go mountain biking with Rama, but you can certainly keep track of his adventures by tracking hashtag Renegade Mountain Biker and just observing what he goes through. Now, Rama, let's say our listeners are wanting to start out with biking or start out with mountain biking. If somebody was new to biking, how would you recommend they start? Because I don't want to start, personally, I don't want to start like riding my bike over the cliffs. That's not where I would want to start. But that's just me. Maybe some of our listeners would, but how do you start?
Well, Catherine, there is biking everywhere, whether it's mountain biking, road biking, BMX biking, cruising. There is biking and there are bikes for everybody. One thing I would, if you are looking to have a good biking experience, it is probably beneficial for you to get a bike from a real bike store. Even though your Walmarts and your Kmarts have things that look like bikes for sale really cheap, do yourself a favor and do not go that route, okay? Those bikes are really not worthy and you won't have as good a time. And you may hate biking as a result of it. So go to your bike shop. If you go to a bike shop, how much are you likely to want to spend? This is a big question. You could spend thousands, and I mean tens of thousands on a bike, which I don't recommend starting off that way. I would be looking at more of an entry-level bike, which is in the range of, let's say, $350 to $600.
Okay, and for our listeners in the UK, you're going to have to translate that into euros or English pounds or what have you. But the point is, you don't have to buy a really expensive bike. I know for myself, I have a bike that I actually bought when I was 23 years old, and it was fitted to me. I'm 5'4". So can you explain why it's so important that you get a bike fitted for you?
Well, all of us can ride several sizes. So, we do have options depending upon what kind of riding position that we like. It is important to get on a bike that is the correct size for you. Bikes that are too small means that your knees are bent when you're pedaling. Bikes that are too big mean that you might have to stretch too much to feel comfortable. So there is, different sizes for different people. And there's, as I say, normally we can fit a couple of different sizes. One thing that bike shops tend to, and I probably shouldn't tell you this, but bike shops like to sell the inventory that they have in stock at that moment in time. If we don't have the perfect size for you in a bike shop, it is conceivable that the salesperson is going to move you to a different size. Is that appropriate? Sometimes. Sometimes it's not. So you do need to be aware that just because it's a bike shop doesn't mean that the salespeople are perfect. Do your research a little bit. Get on a number of different sizes so that you can feel what being too stretched in the front is like, and you can feel what having your knees bent and not being able to hit your power strokes are.
Now, Rama, I know I've been to a bike shop and I've had my bike fitted for me. So they adjust the seat height and handlebar height so that I'm comfortable and that I can maintain as good of a posture as possible while I'm riding. How long does it take for people to get their bike fitted for them?
Fitting takes some time. It can be done in as little as 10 minutes, and a true fitting can take several hours. The difference being that in a true fitting, we're going to take a look at how your foot fits in the shoe that you're on. What happens is that our feet may roll out or they may roll in, and there are inserts that you can get for your shoes that will balance that out. So on a real fitting where the fitter is looking at all the different things, they're looking at shoes, they're looking at your saddle size, make sure that you're in the correct saddle based on your sit bones. They're looking at your stem length and your stem rise. They're looking at the seat position in relationship to the pedals. It's a big endeavor to do a true fitting. One of our mechanics doesn't like doing a true fitting unless he actually spends literally a month riding with that person, because he's looking at what really doing. When you're trying to fit someone in a bike shop, they're not really in biking mode. They're in some weird, fitting mode, and you can't really see what's actually happening. They're on their best behavior. And what a true fitter is looking for is when the rider gets tired. What is going on? Where do they compensate? What happens to their body? So fitting is form, but to get started, it may not be that. You don't necessarily need a super involved one. All you need to do is get yourself on a bike that is an appropriate size and start pedaling, start breathing, and start getting in shape.
Now, Rama, again, some of our listeners may be inspired after listening to you to, go to their local bike shop. And we definitely want to give the message, support your local bike shop so that you can be fitted and you can have a better, healthier, and happier experience on your bike. But when you're just starting out biking, how long is it reasonable to bike? And then of course, you also have our listeners who may be avid bikers who bike every day, or hours every week. So when you're just starting out with biking, what's a reasonable amount of bike to ride so that you feel comfortable and not get a lot of saddle soreness?
Well, this is another great point. Real bikers wear bike shorts that have a chamois pad in the butt. And that chamois pad really, really helps. So that would be something if you really are going to pursue biking. Number one thing to get is a pair of bike shorts. shorts, okay, with a good solid pad, minimum expenditure, let's say $50 on such a thing. There's a great company called Pearl Izumi that does make a wonderful $50 pair of shorts. Okay, so Catherine alluded to the fact that your butt is going to hurt.
When you start.
When you start. And, you know, if you ride for 4 or 5 hours, you know, you definitely have some elements of soreness. So starting out, depending upon, you know, whether you're totally unfit or moderately fit, depends upon how much time you get in battle. You know, a half hour initially is not a bad way to start. If you haven't been doing any exercise, I wouldn't overexert. An hour a day once you start, you know, feeling more comfortable on the bike would be a great workout. So the thing about biking, and Catherine always reminds me this because I'm always telling her that I don't really have enough time to go for a ride. And she says, well, you only need an hour to go for a ride. So let us remember that we don't necessarily need a huge amount of time to go on a bike ride. Okay, we just need to hop on the bike. We need to have a plan, perhaps, and a slot of time. But with any kind of spiritual practice, it's easy for us to say, I do not have the time to do this today. And whether it's yoga, tai chi, stretching, meditation, bike riding, some other kind of sport that challenges us, it's always easy to say, I don't feel it today. And it's the true, you know, competitor. And I'm talking about competing with yourself, with your mind. The true competitor is the one that gets out on that bike. They feel like hell. They're going to put in that hour. They're going to, you know, tough it out. And as a result, going to feel hugely satisfied that I felt like crap and I still went out for 3 hours and challenged myself. So it is a way of getting out of a funk as well.
Now, as you know, again, in the Natural Healing Show, one of the messages that we want to give all our listeners is we want you to exercise. We want you to find some way of moving your body regularly that you enjoy so that you'll do it. Because if you keep moving your body, you're going to be healthy and you're going to avoid surgery. You're not going to need as much medication. You're going to feel better. You're going to be happier. So, you know, there's definitely different personality types that like different things. I've taught yoga for 21 years. I also teach Qigong, but I also like to ride my bike. Now, for me, when I ride my bike, I like to go out on a Sunday afternoon and I take my time and I enjoy the fresh air and the sunshine. Rama, what is it that you think that makes a person a good biker? Or is there a personality type? Like, you know, just like there's maybe personality types who tend to become yoga teachers. What sort of people are most attracted to biking, do you
think? The ones found a spiritual practice that's more esoteric. No, I'm only kidding because I do a lot of esoteric practices myself. But as I talk with many of the people that I do bike with, you know, I get is their connection spirit. Okay, so I don't know if there's a type of person because I ride with big people, I ride with small people, I ride with fat people, I ride with thin people. I ride with people that are very skilled, I ride with people that are unskilled. So what I truly think, and from selling for 30 years, I've been selling bikes, and I've been letting people take test rides on bikes, and I can tell the moment someone comes back from a test ride that they're hooked, and it's easy because they have a smile on their face, and what they've done is they have connected with the child within, and to me, it's so obvious. And it's so clear. But remember that some biking isn't so much child within stuff. Some biking, and I work in a triathlon shop in the place where the world championship is every single year. I mean, these people are serious. In my thinking, they're way too serious about it. But in order to accomplish what they do, they have to buckle down and they have to train. So biking, there's a bike and biking style for everyone on the planet, okay? Whether it's cruising, whether it's BMX, jumping, doing tricks, whether it's mountain biking, which runs the whole gamut from riding on the road, bridle paths, to the lava field, road biking, which again runs the whole gamut. Many people go out for a 20-mile ride, 2 or 3 times a week, and that's what they get into. Some people go out on 200-mile rides. There's a whole range, and I truly think that biking is there for everybody to plug into. And you don't have to be the most aggressive mountain biker or the most serious road biker. You could get a single-speed cruiser and just pedal around. And of course, nowadays they've electrified the bikes so that you can actually get a pedal assist. And this way it becomes easier, but you're still pedaling, you're still exercising. So there are entry points for everyone in this game. Obviously, you have to get a bike, and a bike costs some amount of money unless it gives you one. And there are a lot of bikes that are given away because people love getting new bikes. And generally, we don't know what to do with the old bikes, so they kind of just sit in the garage and gather dust.
Yeah. Rama, how many bicycles do you have?
Well, I have one that actually is functional. I have 2 more that are almost functional. And if I look about my yard, I have a few others that I've put together for other people that I haven't met. So, bikes tend to grow. This is one of our standard jokes in the bike shops is that, one bike really isn't enough. You need to have several. And, we use that to convince people that it's time for another bike.
Yeah.
If you don't love the bike for just the bike's sake, then just one is enough. Find one that feels good for you, that feels comfortable, that provides you with that niche you're looking for. Hey, I'm a beginner. All I'm going to do is cruise by the beach. A single speed or a 3-speed is fine for that. It will get you the exercise that you crave, and it will get you the oxygen into your bloodstream that is necessary for good health.
Okay, now we're coming towards the end of our wonderful radio show with Ramajon Cogan, the author of Sedona Mountain Biking, The Rise of the Gnarly Crew. So Rama, where can people get your book, which by the way is an Amazon #1 bestseller? So where can people get the book? And for those who are watching, can you show them the book again?
Okay, first off, this is the book here. The cover image is a tattoo that I had done on my right calf, and it's been there for a number of years. Shop Cat was one of our logos, and Shop Cat was alive, and there's a chapter on Shop Cat in this book. So the book is available on Amazon. It is also available on a link through my mountainbikeheaven.com website, and you can contact me through Instagram at Tropically Hip. You can contact me through Facebook, Rama, R-A-M-A, John, J-O-N, third word Cogan, C-O-G-A-N. Or you could just search hashtag Renegade Mountain Biker, and you would find me. The book is available on Amazon. As Catherine mentioned, it is a #1 Amazon bestseller. It's also in Kindle form. And if you have a different ebook reader and you would like to get a copy, you can contact me directly. Where's Ramajon at Gmail. WHERESRAMAJON at gmail.com.
Right. And so, on that note, so listeners, you've been listening to the Natural Healing Show with Catherine Carrigan. I'm a medical intuitive healer and Amazon #1 bestselling author. You can find out more about me at catherinecarrigan.com, unlimitedenergynow.com, and also whatissocialmediatoday.com. My latest book has been at #1 on Amazon for the past 12 days. I'm so excited about the difference between pain and suffering. And as we conclude our show, Rama, can you share with our listeners just your final thought? Why should your listeners, our listeners, become as passionate about biking as you are?
Well, first off, I wanted to congratulate Catherine on her latest book. I've worked with Catherine on many of her books, and this last one, or latest one, The Difference Between Pain and Suffering, has photos of Catherine doing yoga and explaining the different benefits of the different poses. It's got acupuncture charts. It is a guidebook for living well and naturally and eliminating pain and suffering at the same time. No brainer here, gang. Check out Catherine's newest book. Now, as far as passion for fitness, it does not matter what road you take. Yoga, Tai Chi, stretching, meditation, bike riding, weightlifting, running. The list goes on. Surfing, paddling. It does not matter which discipline you choose. They all provide similar benefits. Oxygenation to the blood. They give you that of being physically fit. If you really get into being physically fit, you have to start looking at the nutrition to feed the body. So whatever practice you find tickles your fancy is the one for you. Biking is a great discipline. It certainly could be a main spiritual practice for you or a extra spiritual practice for you. It could be fun. It could lead to determination and focus. Whatever you're looking for, biking is there for you. And with that said, I wanted to thank Catherine for interviewing me. It was fun being on this side as opposed to always asking the questions. Thank you, Catherine.
Thank you. And you've been listening to the Natural Healing Show for UK Health Radio. Find us on UK Health Radio. And thank you so much. And we'll be back next week with more great information about how you can use fitness, nutrition, and natural healing to achieve exceptional levels of health and happiness. Thanks so much. And we'll be back next week.